Greetings, mortals. Welcome back to my court. Welcome if you're new. I see I've got a couple people here. Hey, Crystal, how's it going? Silver Lioness, how's it going there? I'm trying to get it up on YouTube too so I can see chat better. Give me a second. It should be interesting. Video link. I'm still new at this, guys. Sorry. Video link. And muted. Cool. Okay. So I got that set up. How's everyone doing? Everyone keeping warm? It dropped back down to a negative 7 degree high up here. So lots of snow. Hubby got sent home early. He did go to work though, but the buses were canceled for the kids. So they stayed home. I am terrible at thinking of names. That is like a running joke in our D&D group because we create characters and then we're supposed to come up with names for them, backgrounds, that sort of thing. Like I can have a character made, I can have a background, I can let you know all of their history, but then I sit there and go, shit, and I have to name this character. Yeah, keep in mind that I'm in Celsius too, so that's -7 Celsius, which is 20 Fahrenheit, I think. Maybe in the upper teens. But that was the high. That's not what it is now. That was the high that I wrote down in my book for my temperature blanket. I suck at Fahrenheit. Fahrenheit just doesn't make any sense. And I way overate for supper, so trying to force all the food down. Ooh, 30 there now. Actually below freezing. Hopefully it's not raining. I know you guys do not have the infrastructure for that down in Georgia. Streets here are plowed. The sidewalks haven't been cleared. Sidewalks haven't been cleared, but that usually takes a little bit. I'm not in an area that gets prioritized. There's not as many little bobcats to clear its sidewalks. $19.40. Hey, Don. -2 tonight in Indiana. That is cold. And what is the low tonight? Phone. Come on. Heck. Yes, my Pizza Hut order was very quickly devoured. Yeah, it's going to be -20 tonight. It's currently -9, feels like -15. And I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit. 19.4 degrees Fahrenheit. So I was close. I said 20s, maybe upper teens. I was right. Or maybe I'm not as bad at this as I thought I was. Okay. Sorry, I just got back also from emailing my member of parliament. It's my federal representative, I suppose, be like, and we have a Senate. I suck at politics, but they're my representatives. Maybe be like a member of the House for the U.S. My representative in Parliament about a bill that's going through about universal health care or universal pharmacare. Because right now in Canada, I can go to the doctor and I'll never have to even so much as pull any money or a card out of my wallet. But if they prescribe me something, I then have to go pay for it. They are subsidized, so it's not as expensive as it is in the US, but there's still a fair cost there. I know one friend of mine is on something for Crohn's that's like $800 a dose. It's ridiculous. And so I, as part of a change.org, I emailed my representative to say, yeah, we want you to do something about this bill that's going through. We want you to vote for it. And of course, this area is very conservative, think Republican. So it's not likely that they're going to do anything about it. So I had to rebut her on everything when she responded back to me. Trying to tell me everybody's actually covered and there's very few people that aren't. I'm like, no, I don't think so. Yeah, everybody's else has been in a snit for a while. It's real damn cold. A good friend of mine who lives in Texas, who's not part of this community, is without power. And unfortunately, she's got some pets that are temperature dependent. So she's looking to go to a friend's place that has power so that her animals don't freeze. Okay. So I've been doing lots of research today. I watched Avengers Age of Ultron last night, and I watched Captain America Civil War today. Because I was trying to parse out what movies are necessary and what ones can you kind of get away from. I know I said Guardians of the Galaxies may not be necessary, but I am going to rewatch the last two Avengers movies because a couple of characters from them do play into that movie to see if that's something that needs more explanation. I'm kind of thinking not, because nobody else knows these characters, so I'm pretty sure they introduce themselves pretty well. And that's what ends up happening with these movies. A lot of them are origin stories. So, like, Doctor Strange exists, and you have a whole movie talking about who he is and what he does. But when he becomes part of the Avengers movie, he does get introduced, because the Avengers don't know him. He's just this powerful magic guy that shows up and wants to help. So there is an introduction there. So you don't necessarily have to watch Doctor Strange movie to understand that, okay, he's powerful, he's got magic, he can play with time. Fair enough. Guardians of the Galaxy is very juvenile. I'll give you that. It's weird, it's wacky, it's juvenile. It's not, it was a big risk when they put that movie out, the first one, because that's a property that's so obscure that even most people who are into comics go, what? Who? I'm sorry, a tree and a talking raccoon. Are you high? Are you sure? So yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy is pretty weird. Guardians of the Galaxy is pretty weird. So I don't blame anyone for going, okay, this is a step too far for me, when you're still kind of getting on board with the whole superhero thing. Guardians of the Galaxy is definitely weird. And Baby Groot is ridiculously cute. So cute. But we're not here to talk about Guardians of the Galaxy. The main thing that we're here to talk about is WandaVision. So if anyone is completely out to lunch on what WandaVision is a Marvel Cinematic Universe mini-series that's coming on Disney Plus. It is slated to be 9 episodes. We are currently on episode 6. Episode 7 will be airing on Friday. I Up until now, they've been roughly about half an hour, but apparently the next 3 are going to be closer to an hour because with all the shenanigans that have been going on in these episodes, they really needed to be longer. Because you're sitting there at the end of the episode going, what? No, I think that would probably be bad. We'd probably have some sort of crossing of the streams. Too much cuteness in one movie. People explode from the cute. It would just not be good. Okay. So WandaVision centers around 2 Avengers. One is Wanda Maximoff, who in the comics is known as the Scarlet Witch. She's never referred to that in the MCU, or at least she hasn't been yet. And that actually is a plot point that they are very quick to come up with. She doesn't have one of your ridiculous names, as they called it. But she is very powerful. She was given her power in the Marvel Cinematic Universe via experiments using Loki's scepter, which had the Mind Stone in it. She and her brother were both given powers. Her brother was given powers of speed. He has accelerated metabolism. He runs really fast. Basically, everything about him is fast. She is far more difficult to define, but she can read minds. She can manipulate people's thoughts. She can move things with her mind. And she has some ability with reality warping, meaning she can take things and change them. We don't know exactly how powerful any of these characters are really via anyone else, but Wanda stood toe-to-toe with Thanos, who is the villain in Endgame, in both Infinity War and Endgame. So he's really, really powerful. She stood toe-to-toe with him and fought him for a while. So she is extremely powerful. Excuse me, just gotta figure out where I'm going for that from here. I kind of know where I'm going. Her brother was killed during Avengers Age of Ultron, shortly after she was introduced. And that's been a major source of trauma for Wanda ever since. The 2 of them have been inseparable since they were born. They were orphaned at 10 and relied on each other through their adolescence. They're very, very close. And so her brother dying was a big deal to Wanda. Then there is the Vision. The Vision is actually a synthezoid. We will get there. We will get there. Why the sitcom set? We will get there. The Vision is a synthezoid. Vision was a body that was being created using both metal and mostly vibranium, really, to inhabit Ultron. But between the Mind Stone, Jarvis AI that Tony made that was in charge of his suit for the first several movies, and some help from Thor, they created the Vision. Now, we're getting into spoiler territory for the movies, but if you've seen some of WandaVision, you probably already know some of this. But the end of Avengers Infinity War, all the while they knew that Thanos was after the Infinity Stones, one of which was the Mind Stone, which was in Vision's head. That's the fun glowy thing that's in the middle of his head. They spent a good chunk of the movie trying to figure out how to separate Vision from this Mind Stone without it killing him. And eventually they ran out of time. So Wanda ended up having to destroy him, destroyed the Mind Stone, which killed Vision. As you can imagine, because they had a relationship, they had a relationship that had been building over a couple of movies till then. This was extremely difficult for them. Even if they'd just been friends, this would have been a very, very traumatic thing to do. but they were lovers at the time. So this was definitely traumatic. It was made even more traumatic because Thanos, the big bad guy, had the time stone. So what he did was he rewound time to just before Wanda destroyed the Mind Stone, tossed her aside, and ripped the Mind Stone out of Vision's head, killing him a second time in less than 10 minutes. Then at the very end of the movie, Thanos actually gets to do what he wins. He gets to do what he had planned to do. He was planning on destroying. Hi, Robert. He was planning on destroying half the universe's population because he feels that overpopulation is going to destroy everything. This is his big plan. He's wrong, but he feels that that's going to save the world. He thinks he's in the right. So he snaps his finger with the Infinity Gauntlet with all of the stones on it, and half of the universe's population disappears like they never were. Many of the Avengers got what we call dusted or snapped, including Wanda. So when they pick up at the end of Endgame and they're able to undo this snap, for everybody who's been dusted, that snap was like 5 minutes ago. For everybody else, it's been 5 years. So when Wanda hits the ground and starts fighting Thanos at the end of Endgame, she just had to kill her boyfriend and then watched Thanos kill him like 20 minutes ago. So she's pissed. Iron Man died by snapping to get everybody back. But to snap to get rid of, actually no, to snap to get rid of Thanos' forces. That's how he died. He's just simply not strong enough. He's just a regular human being. He wasn't strong enough to withstand the blowback from using the Infinity Stones. He died saving everybody, really. But we're not really here about Tony. We're here about Wanda. So Wanda has just lost love of her life. She's lost Tony. She's been now out of commission for 5 years. She doesn't really know where her place is because there hasn't been a place for her for 5 years. Hey, Danielle. And WandaVision picks up a couple of weeks after that. And we're not entirely sure what happened in between point A, end of Endgame, and them showing up in 50s garb. But we can do some supposition. The reason why I think that this hex is at least in part powered by Wanda's powers. They are under the assumption that it is entirely Wanda. They, as in SWORD, the main government presence there, think it's entirely Wanda. I'm not convinced of that, and I will get back to that. I will get around to seeing why. But I think the reason why it has formed into various sitcoms is because Wanda is not American. Wanda and her brother are from Sokovia, which is a fictional country, but it's supposed to be East Bloc, sort of like Czech Republic, sort of in that area, the area of Europe that would have been under communist rule for a long time. So their real only exposure to American culture is through TV. So if Wanda's trying to create an idyllic setting for her and her husband, even if she's not entirely aware that she's creating it, it makes sense that she would go into something as sanitized and idyllic as a sitcom that she would have caught in syndication as she was growing up. So that's why that is. What is going on over here? Hello, dear.
I'll remind you.
What's that? I already did that.
Okay. I wasn't sure.
Yep. No, I think actually Crystal reminded me about Disney Plus, and I did it while I was on her live the one day.
You see, Trump and Julianne are getting sued for federal law now for causing the riot since the impeachment didn't go through.
Yeah. My reclusive husband. He was reminding me that the price for Disney Plus is going to go up, so I should lock our price in by paying for a full year. So, which I have already done because this is a Disney family. And now I've lost my train of thought. Where was I? Hey, Robert. So far, we have gone over. Oh, you missed the Endgame spoilers, but I'm pretty sure you'd have to be blind, deaf, and dumb in our community to have actually not been spoiled by anything I said about Endgame. So. Sitcom site, yeah. So that's really the reason why I think that this, because I don't think Wanda's in complete conscious control of the Hex. The reason why everything's playing out like a sitcom, I think, is because that's the way that she thinks an idyllic American life would be. Yeah, exactly. Because there's nothing more sanitized and upbeat and happy than an American sitcom, really. They have their down moments, but we watch them to sort of escape and get into more of an idyllic world. I know. Fortunately, the next few episodes are supposed to be longer instead of this half-an-hour crap, because you just get started into it. It's like, what? It's over? What? No! I've also heard rumors that there will be a 10th episode, but that's rumor. I don't know that that's true or not. So, yeah. So who has been watching WandaVision? Has everybody here watched? Did everybody caught up? Because personally, I've actually loved watching the sitcom episodes at first. I was like, okay, this is fun. The sitcom episodes at first, because I love how they did things like have the special effects in like the 50s episode be obvious wires that they had everything suspended on and stuff like that. You've yet to watch WandaVision? Okay. Well, fortunately, because of the very puzzle box nature of this, there's not a whole lot that I can spoil for you. You're all cut up? You're still on 6? Okay. There's not a whole lot I can spoil for you. There's a couple of things, but we don't really know what they mean yet either, even though they have happened. So we're now 2 weeks after Endgame. Wanda had to watch Vision die twice in rapid succession. One of them, she had to be the one doing the killing. And she's mourning. She's mourning her brother still. She's mourning Vision. And we know that Wanda found that somebody was effectively disassembling. Yeah, there are 6 so far. 7 will be on Friday. They drop every Friday. As I said, there is rumors of a 10th episode. I don't know how true that is, but the next few are supposed to be longer. Somehow Wanda found out that they were experimenting on Vision's body, which they've had 5 years to do. That Sword has been. And the director of Sword has been very quick to tar Wanda with the villain brush. Very, very quick to say, oh, she's a terrorist and she's going against Vision's wishes. And it's like, I'm pretty sure Vision's living will did not specify allowing you. We will get to her brother, yeah. I'm pretty sure Vision's living will would not have specified allowing you to take him apart so you can study him and make weapons from him, which hasn't been confirmed that's what he's doing, but come on, really? We know that's what he's doing. So the first episode, we wander into this 50s sitcom and have no idea what's happening. Wanda and Vision are married. They're a couple. They have this whole thing going on. Muppets are good. Muppets are very good. They don't really know what's going on. They know they got married. They don't remember how. It's very dreamlike. They don't really know what's going on. Oh, definitely. He's definitely doing sneaky shit with this, and he's trying to cover it up by painting Wanda with the villain brush here. I don't think Wanda is 100% innocent in all this, but there's more going on than that. We don't know what's happening. The next episode moves up to a 60s set, and we still don't really know what's happening. They will. And this second episode is where we start to get ideas that Wanda has control over this, because she's able to sort of, whenever Vision seems to get a little too concerned about things, all of a sudden we get this weird cut flashback and Vision says something different, like trying the line again or doing a different option. There's a lot of twists and misdirection. So the end of the 60s episode, during the 60s episode, a couple of things happens. Yeah, it's very Pleasantville, very Truman Show, very much like that, yeah. So in the 60s episode, Wanda goes out and finds, they're still in black and white at this point, a toy helicopter in the bushes that's colorized, and it's the sword logo. Once Upon a Mattress. I haven't seen that one. I'll have to look into it. Colored, and she's like, okay, what is this? And she gets startled by Agnes, who is a recurring character that keeps showing up. We'll get to her. And some other things go on. At one point, a radio kind of starts trying to talk to Wanda. Wanda, who's making you do this? Wanda, all this other stuff. And at the end of the episode, this beekeeper guy comes out of the sewers out front of their house, and Wanda says, no. And all of a sudden the whole thing rewinds and then turns to color. And Wanda's pregnant and we don't understand what's happening. We just know that somehow she did that. We know she did that. We're not sure what exactly else, but we know she did that. And now we're into color. So the third episode we start getting into is the 70s episode, which is a whole bunch of fun and shenanigans about Wanda being pregnant. By the end of the episode, Wanda's had her 2 boys, and there's been a black woman who's been in the last 2 episodes. And she all of a sudden, as Wanda is rocking her boys and singing a Sokovian lullaby to her boys, she's mentioned that she is now, yes, very Brady Bunch. She's mentioned that she was a twin. And this black woman looks at her and goes, who's been helping her help deliver her boys and everything, is, he was killed by Ultron. And then all manner of weirdness happens. And the next thing we know, Vision's coming back into the house and she's saying, oh, she's gone. She had to rush home. Partridge Family, yeah. They try not to borrow too heavily from any one particular sitcom, but you can definitely see little bits lifted from here and there and the feeling of certain sitcoms. I'm still a little bit disappointed they didn't lean more into the Full House in the 80s one. Hey, Deborah. So, and at the end of the third episode, we see this black character all of a sudden being catapulted outside of city limits. through this weird fuzzy barrier, and she's on the ground, and we're going, okay, who's this? What's going on here? Yeah, Vision started figuring out because Agnes and Herb were acting weird while Wanda was in with the friend that she expelled from the Hex. The 4th episode is background. How the heck did we get here? And this time we're following a woman named Monica Rambeau as she suddenly wakes up in the hospital wondering where her mother is and finding out that her mother died 2 years ago or 3 years ago. Her mother got through the procedure that she had been there for, but after she disappeared 5 years ago, she had been snapped out of existence and then snapped back into existence. And her mother, in the intervening 5 years, has died of cancer. Her mother, we find out, was one of the people who started SWORD, which is sort of like SHIELD. We're not quite sure in this version what SWORD is going to be. I think the acronym is Sentient Weapons SW. I had notes. I can't remember what SWORD stands for, but SWORD has not been fully explained to us what SWORD actually is. In the comics, it was more of a we'll take care of fighting on behalf of Earth in space, but I don't think that's what we're doing here. I think this is more about sentient weapons in this version. Oh, sorry. Then we see Darcy back from Thor and the one character back from Ant-Man, and there's all kinds of stuff going on as Darcy starts trying to figure out all about this sitcom thing and how things change. They found out that the helicopter she found in her bushes had been a drone that Monica had sent in, and Monica ended up getting sucked into there, and she was the one who helped. Yeah, I'm blanking. I'm blanking. Monica was the one who became Geraldine. I knew I needed notes for this. And eventually was expelled from the Hex when she got her memory back about Pietro being killed by Ultron. And so basically, Monica went to investigate what she thought was a missing person. Turned out it was more like a missing town. She sends in this drone and then goes up to sort of test the barrier herself and gets sucked in. Sectioning weapons of real damage. I know the first two are sentient weapons, which would be, to me, what they would probably class Vision under, or anything that they made from having taken Vision apart and tried to discover what he's all about. They may even class any of the Avengers underneath that, depending on how they're going to define that. This may be what they were planning to do with the Sokovian Accords in order to have a branch of the military to govern what the enhanced people can do. But that's reaching. That might be a little too far. Sorry, I just watched Captain America Civil War, so that's kind of in my brain right now. Sentient World Observation Response Department. That's what it was in the comics. I'm pretty sure it's now Sentient Weapon in the MCU. when they bring things over from the comics, it isn't necessarily a one-to-one translation. And I'm pretty sure that that weapon was there, because that was one of the things that caught my eye. I was like, what's going on with that? That's new. Yes, it is Geraldine. Thank you. Got my ringers here. Okay, so I'm going to jump ahead, actually, because we're getting a little bit into the weeds of things. It turns out that we go into the 80s episode. It turns out that Vision and Wanda's children can just decide to age up when they want to. They age up to age 5 when they can't get them to quiet down. And they eventually age up to age 10 when their parents tell them that they can't have a dog until they're at least 10. They decide to age 10. It's like, okay. Yeah, Hydra stuff in there. Yeah. And then the big reveal comes at the end of the episode when Wanda and Vision are fighting, because Vision's figuring out that there's something seriously wrong here, and that Wanda has some, not a precursor, no. It's actually a much newer organization, because it was founded by Monica Rambeau's mother, and that movie took place in 1995. S.H.I.E.L.D.'s been around for a lot longer than that. It is weapons now. I'm not crazy. Not entirely crazy. So the big reveal at the end of episode 5, which is the 80s episode, which seemed to me like it was more growing pains oriented. That's my recollection of 80s stuff. But there was some nods to Full House and that sort of thing. Breathe. Remember. The very end of this, we get come on. Okay, so I'm going to share screen here for a sec. The very end of the 80s episode, we get the revelation that Pietro's back, Wanda's twin brother. But he's back with a twist. I'm going to see if I can share my screen here. If I can get to the right Pinterest board. I took some notes. Was S.W.O.R.D. after Civil War? That would make sense of where I was going with the idea of the sentient weapons observation and observation there. That to me sounds like it's supposed to be an oversight for groups like the Avengers. Yeah, there's a little bit of a Joey Lawrence going on there. Okay. Excuse me while I fight the StreamYard. Okay. After the Sokovian Accords, yeah. So that's what makes me think that S.W.O.R.D. is supposed to be this oversight, because the main problem that they were having was things kept going boom when they shouldn't have been going boom. People were getting hurt. They didn't feel that the Avengers had any kind of oversight. And I'm trying to see, are you seeing Pinterest now? Because this, no, something's wrong here. No, it's just getting YouTube. I shared the wrong screen. Stop sharing. They do like diamond painting. They're not big into the bigger ones, but they do like diamond painting. I shared the wrong screen. That's what that is. Share screen. I want to share this screen. So now I can't see StreamYard. I'm just going to drag that over. Okay. All right. So this is Aaron Taylor Johnson. This is the guy who played Quicksilver in Avengers: Age of Ultron. This is Pietro. This is who we were expecting. However, who we got was the guy who played the same character in X-Men, Evan Peters, which is kind of bonkers. And what that goes back to is the fact that there was some interesting rights splitting between Fox and Marvel Studios with regards to the characters of Wanda and Pietro Maximoff. Basically, in the 90s, Marvel was going broke, which is hard for us to believe in right now because Marvel's making money hand over fist right now with all of these wonderful billion-dollar movies. But in the 90s, they were about to hit bankruptcy. So in order to try and stay afloat, they sold off the rights to various different studios to allow them to make movies of their characters. So all of the X-Men went to Fox, the Hulk went to Universal, Spider-Man went to Sony, and they did this because they desperately, desperately needed money in order to be able to fund all of this, in order to fund things and stay afloat in the 90s. So, yes, comic books and superheroes were uncool. But because of the fact that, but the interesting part is that Pietro and Wanda Maximoff were both X-Men and Avengers. They are mutants. Originally, they had a very different story of how they would create their powers. They were just mutants. Their powers became, their powers came up as they came of age, like the X-Men did. And even better is they were, oh, come on, Robert, you know that. We always thought they were cool, but we were not the majority. Wanda and Pietro are mutants who were members of the Avengers. They were mutants. Their father was the Omega level mutant, Magneto. That was a big thing. So Fox had the rights to the mutants. So Fox could put Wanda and Pietro into movies for the X-Men movies. They couldn't reference the fact that they were Avengers at any point in any fashion, but they could call them mutants. They could have them in the characters, and they could reference their heritage with Magneto, who's one of the main X-Men bad guys. He was played by Michael Fassbender as a younger man, and his older version was played by Ian McKellen. I almost forgot that name. Oh my God. I think they're saying that based off of some interesting stuff. So Fox could use those two characters with certain limitations. They couldn't call them Avengers, but they could call them mutants. They could name the fact that they were Magneto's children. And they could use them as part of the X-Men. Marvel Marvel also had the rights to them because they were Avengers, but they couldn't call them mutants, and they couldn't reference the fact that they were Magneto's children, so they had to come up with another backstory. That's why we got the backstory of them being experimented on with the Mind Stone that was in Loki's scepter. But in the interim, since Avengers Age of Ultron came out, and since X-Men had brought Quicksilver into their movies, Fox has been purchased by Disney. So it's interesting in many different ways that it's this version of Pietro that we're getting. And there's a couple of reasons that could be. So there's a couple of reasons that could be. Number one is they want to get the X-Men into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The other movies probably will not be canon. Okay, Crystal, where did I lose you? I would never forget Gandalf. Just names sometimes drop out of the back of my head. Unfortunately, you came into a WandaVision live. So WandaVision is a 9-part miniseries we're doing on Disney Plus, which is part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So where Crashly was getting completely lost was the fact that it was this version of Quicksilver that came back. Wanda is called Scarlet Witch, but she has not ever been called that in the context of the MCU. And they made a point of saying that in WandaVision. But yes, her superhero name, like her brother being Quicksilver, would be Scarlet Witch. But in the MCU, they've never called her that. Wouldn't be surprised if they do soon, though. You're more in Deborah's boat? I'm sorry. Have you watched any of the Avengers movies at all, Danielle? Yeah, basically, the reason why they couldn't have the original origins for Wanda and Pietro was because of the fact that they had sold the entire mutant bits to Fox. But now that Fox is a Disney property, they now have the right to use the X-Men. So the prevailing theory is that some way or another they're going to use WandaVision as a way of bringing the mutants into the MCU's reality. Which is where we get the multiverse, which is going to get really wild. So there's people who believe that Wanda was looking for Wanda's subconscious in trying to bring Pietro back. Yes, WandaVision is owned by Disney. It's part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which is under Marvel Studios, which is a subsidiary of the Walt Disney Corporation. And just in the last couple of years, they have purchased Fox Studios. So if you liked Anastasia and always thought that was Disney, you used to be wrong. You're not anymore. It's not Disney. How to explain the multiverse? Yeah, so the current prevailing theory is that Wanda's subconscious was looking for a living Pietro, and the only living Pietro was in another universe. So she's ripped the Evan Peters version of Pietro out of another universe into the universe of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which if Evan Peters Quicksilver can come across, what's stopping any of the other mutants from coming across? So that may be a way that they do it. Oh no, yeah, the multiverse. I don't know actually, Robert, because this is supposed to be Earth 616. No, but that's what it is. That was where the confusion was happening in Crashly's live, where she was like, but they're different people. Why is it? No, they are actually the exact same character. The Aaron Taylor Johnson Quicksilver and the Evan Peters Quicksilver are the exact same character. They are both Pietro Maximoff. They're the exact same character. They just couldn't have the same intro because the rights weirdness was going on. But now that Fox is owned by Disney, they can use him. And this is going to be their excuse for getting the mutants in one way or the other. Now, there's a lot of other stuff going on. Yep. Alternate universe. Yep. They're the same person, really. Now, I think Wanda has realized that this version of him isn't right, that there's something wrong with him because she keeps trying to test him and he's not going for it. There is another theory that possibly this is not Pietro after all, that he's actually a bad guy in disguise. Who that bad guy is up for debate. There's a lot of them out there that could be. But yes, that is her brother as he was played in X-Men Apocalypse. If Wanda had existed in the X-Men movies, that would be her brother. Yeah, there's something definitely going on with Pietro. I don't think he's a sword plant. I really don't. I think he's a big bad. And I would go into that, but then I'd really be confusing people. Really, really be confusing people. But does anyone have any questions? Because that's kind of where I wanted to get to. Basically, right now, Wanda's in charge of the Hex, and she's trying to keep everything at the status quo. She likes her little idyllic sitcom universe, and she wants to keep it. But the problem is we think that the people in there are actually people who are suffering. So something's going to have to give. It's possible that one of the big bads that's being bandied around that could be one of the big bads that could have actually abducted the Evan Peters mutant verse Pietro from that and brought him over. So we could end up with best of both worlds. It's really hard to say. Super Skrull. I am not up on Super Skrull. The two that I'm hearing a lot of are Mephisto. Actually, there's three. Mephisto, the Grim Reaper, and Nightmare. They've actually called things nightmares several times. So that one was kind of an outlier, but it's become more and more. And the Hex does sort of feel more like a dream than anything else. So I think we're going to find that there's some things going on. The thing that I'm concerned with is Sword seems to think that this entire Hex is all Wanda's doing, and I really don't think that's the case. She doesn't seem to have full control over it. She has a lot of control over it, but she doesn't seem to have full control over it. I think this was brought on by someone else. It's using her reality warping powers to create itself and sustain itself, but I don't think it's just her. I think there's more going on. And the question is who and why? And I think we're going to have to wait for the next 3 episodes to find that out, really. Possibly 4. Like I said, there is rumors of a 10th episode, but there's no hard evidence of that yet. They've always said this is going to be a 9-episode series. So there will be one on Friday, and then the next 2 Fridays, at least. Maybe a third. Those. But Nightmare is the villain. Nightmare is a possibility, which I do not know nearly enough about Nightmare. I would have to look him up. But Mephisto is a possibility as the big bad. And then there's Agnes. Agnes is part of this somehow. Most people are pretty sure that Agnes is a character from the comics called Agatha Harkness, who is another witch. Now, what she's doing in here, how she got there, why she isn't always affected by the hex and seems to know there's more going on, that's another question. But we're pretty sure that Agnes has something to do with this because we believe that she is the witch Agatha Harkness. So maybe this is something of hers. Mrs. Kravitz. I'm losing something. I'm actually hoping we see more of Dottie, who we saw in the 2nd episode, because Emma Caulfield's like one of my favorite people. So excited when I saw her in there. Considering there's a possibility that there's demons going on. She played a demon on Buffy for a while, so. It could be a lot of stuff. It could be a mutant that's controlling her mind. Oh, the nosy neighbor from Bewitched. Okay, yeah, I'm a little young for Bewitched. I've seen parts of it, but I haven't seen many episodes. The old commercial is Stryker watching Hydra Silk Bubble Bath. Yep. The Vision toaster in the first one was a good one. And the Lagos paper towels was painful. Because there was a incident that happened in Lagos, Nigeria, that Wanda accidentally ended up hurting a lot of people. She didn't mean to. She was trying to save people, but she ended up hurting a lot of people there. So that was the whole clean up your mistakes that you didn't mean making with Lagos paper towels. Like, oh, really? That's kind of painful. The toaster by Stark Industries. Yeah, a lot of people are equating that to the story of them losing their parents. If you haven't seen Age of Ultron, or you haven't seen it recently, the twins go into what happened to their parents when they were 10. The building they were living in was hit by a explosive.
Hey Mom, isn't it also going over in one of the episodes of WandaVision?
I don't know. Why'd you interrupt me?
Sorry.
The building that they were living in was hit by a explosive, and it created a hole in the floor, and their parents fell in. And then the building was hit by another missile that didn't go off. And these are 2 10-year-old siblings sitting there watching this missile in their living room with no idea if or when it's ever going to go off. And it took them 2 days to get dug out of that. So they're sitting there for 2 days with this Stark Industries missile in their living room, wondering when it's going to go off and kill them. That's one of the reasons why they really, 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 really did not like Tony Stark in Avengers: Age of Ultron. But yes, Agatha is, I don't know if she's involved in a way that she has any control, but she's definitely involved somehow. There's more going on with her than we know. Agnes, Agatha. And I am up on my time. That's understandable hatred, yes. But that whole sitting there waiting for this bomb to go off, and then the commercial about the Stark Industries toaster, that's where people are getting a bit of back and forth on that. So I don't really know what's going to happen in the next 3 episodes. That's one of the fun things about these Marvel movies, is they are not direct adaptations of the comics at any point. They do draw a lot of plot points out of the comics. They draw a lot of characters out of the comics. They draw a lot of things out of the comics, but they are not direct adaptations by any means. So even though I've read some of the comics and Rob's read the comics and Valerie's read the comics, we don't necessarily know what's coming. We have educated guesses based on the stuff that has happened in the comics and where this might go, but it's an educated guess. It's not we know what's happening. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, when they're with Disney, they're trying to hit as big a demographic as possible. So they're hoping that some people are going to get sucked in going, hey, that looks like old TV sitcoms. I should go check that out and see what's going on. But it's an interesting thing. And I do think that that's why she's going with sitcoms. Why the companies decided to go with sitcoms. But I think the reason why that Wanda's subconscious going with sitcoms is because that's probably her introduction to American life growing up in Eastern European country, is what she saw on TV.
I got a small brain and I need to keep a lot of info in it.
Oh, honey, mommy just tried to empty her brain and it's all over the floor now.
Okay.
It's all over the floor.
Mommy.
All right, girls. Mommy's out of time. So, you guys want to say goodbye?
Bye. I don't want to go. I just keep doing it to go in the line.
I hope that was at least somewhat edifying. Bye. I don't know if I've succeeded in confusing people more or helping out, but if you have any other questions, you can always contact me. That's definitely a possibility, Silver, for sure.
I totally agree with you, Deborah.
What? I don't even understand anything.
That's because you just walked in.
Don't throw up alive yet. No.
Yes, my kids have lots of Halloween merch. Surprise, surprise. All right. Thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate everybody coming out. Even though some of you didn't really know what the heck I was talking about.
I'm holding Caitlin back.
Any questions you have, fire them my way. And I will see you in another video. Bye, guys.
Calm.